Welcome back, homies. It's Chris Aaron, and
Chris
an
Aaron.
angel.
Yeah.
Wow. Hey, we have a word. I don't know if it's the word for 2024, but last year's word was mumble, and this
Yes.
year's word could be Coddiwomple.
Yes. I'm down with Coddiwomple.
Coddiwomple. Did I see that or did you see it? Oh,
You
maybe
saw it. You
I
posted
saw it
it.
and then you commented on it.
I am just Coddlewomple. I love it. I could
Yeah, I mean,
first of
it's right
all,
up our alley.
we know before we even define it, we defy any of you five listeners to get to us with a more fun sounding word. Okay. I want to
Yeah.
hear your more fun sounding words
Okay.
because Coddywomple,
Yeah.
hello,
I know. Hello.
Coddywomple.
Yeah. And if you want a place to put that more fun word, put it in the Mindful CEO Facebook group. And if
Yes.
you're not a member of the Mindful CEO Facebook group, then
Well, what
go
the hell are
join
you
it.
doing?
Yeah,
Join.
go join it. Come
Free.
on,
It's
duh.
free.
All right, Coddiwomple. Let me define it, and then we can, I think, start to unpack this for our purposes. I looked it up, and it says, according to the Urban Dictionary, Coddiwomple is defined as to travel in a purposeful manner towards a vague destination. Purposeful manner, love that, towards a vague destination.
Loving that.
Oh God, it's so good. And I think, that's just all kinds of paradoxical for today's, hustle culture. Like vague destination, no, it needs to be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic. It needs to be very clear your destination.
Get those goals out, people. This is
Yeah.
2024. Do you not have 5 goals that you've handwritten and you write
Right.
down 5 times a day, every day? I'm going to be making
Right.
$1 million a month. I'm making $1 million a month.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Which, okay. So for one hand, let's just take the contempt for visualization and what do you call that?
Well, it
Journaling
doesn't.
and
Yeah.
manifest. Take the contempt out of my conversation there, because really that not a problem doing that. Really, probably potent and fabulous. And the years of people that have trained us to do that are certainly people we respect. So, and it ain't no cottywomple,
I just
right?
want to say to that though, and it doesn't need to be contempt, but I know for myself, I really struggled for years having a specific destination.
Yes.
That there was something about the specificity of the destination that made me not open to the resources, the noticings, the observations
Really.
that
Yeah.
probably were around me, and I just couldn't see them because I was so fucking tunnel visioned about it,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so that's the other thing when I have a specific destination, it pulls itself toward it doesn't have to,
Yeah.
but it lends itself to already predetermining how I'm going to get there,
That's good.
what it needs to look like to
Yeah.
get there, what it needs to look like when I'm there.
Yep.
Mode of transportation sort of figures itself out, but it doesn't figure itself out in a way of, okay, now it's a done deal. It figures itself out in a way of, I no longer see other avenues to getting there. So if
Yeah.
that way that I figured out, which really wasn't figuring it out, which is really just the amygdala coughing up the
Yeah.
safest, quickest answer, uh, it no longer shows up as a possibility, and defeat is almost inevitable because I refuse to cottywomple.
Well done. Use it in a sentence. Well done.
Yes, we are. That's one for me. We're gonna have to see
You
who
win.
scores
You're
the
winning.
most in the game of cottywomple. Um. So yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
think that's so yeah, and we're both big proponents of um the journey is the thing,
Yeah.
right? The
Right.
and
Yeah.
the destination, is
Yeah.
uh,
Yes.
gives you a direction but not a destination, right? We're both
Right.
are sort of been our mantra, which is why when you posted Connie Walpole in the meme, I was like, well, that's our show. That's
Yeah.
that's the conversation, because a direction, not a destination.
Right. That's right.
That's what they're talking about. But purposefully walking in that direction, purposely moving in that
Yeah.
direction.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the word intentional also there.
Yeah.
To be intentional about the direction you're heading, even though it's a vague direction.
Vague
say
destination.
my life
So,
is set up for
hang on, does that say
agency.
vague direction?
It says vague destination.
Destination. Okay, not a vague direction.
Yeah, but I mean, I think vague destination is a direction, not a destination. A vague destination isn't a destination at all. It's a direction.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But I don't know that it's a vague direction. You're moving purposely in a direction.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's intentionality to it. There's like my life is set up for agency. My life is set up for helping leaders lead. My life is there's a
Yeah.
true north. There's a cathedral here. Dude, this is the other thing that's cool about this podcast. If you go back through the 54 episodes or whatever, like it's all in a lane. Like we could talk about true north cathedrals, and I love that we just keep finding the layers of
Yeah.
it's all the same conversation with different angles. And I think that's cool. I think that we've been staying true to
Yeah, that conversation.
that
Yeah,
conversation.
and we have a vague destination, right? Which is, I mean, that's the other thing. Okay, good. So vague destination. Let's just take it apart because I can hear something new in it as we
Coddiwomple it.
Coddiwomple it.
Ah, which one for me?
Exactly. Oh, one for you. You nailed it. That was good. You got it before me. That was very good. Uh yeah, the vague destination. So we do have a vague destination. One of the things for those listening, we were talking about before the show was the Mindful CEO masterclass, or what are we calling it? But that's the point. We don't actually have a name for it. It's a monthly group where we get together and move toward a vague destination of being empowering people to have the kind of life and the kind of impact that they're interested in when they get interested in all the elements and the elements of mindfulness and bringing that to life. But the destination there is vague. That's as much of the scaffolding or the container we have around that group, to the point where I'm not even clear if it's a masterclass or a consulting or a workshop or what, like. So
Well, I think there is. I mean, I don't know. You have more you want to share on that? I have thoughts about that.
Hold on to that thought for a second, because I was okay, you talk for a minute because I've lost my train stopped there. So go ahead. What did you want to say about it? I'll riff off.
Well, I think that you and I have created scaffolding with mindfulness, mastermind,
Mastermind,
manifestation, right? Like we have pillars to this conversation. We've also talked about True North. We've done a workshop on True North. Like there is what I would say this vague destination is that we're all doing together in the Mindful CEO Mastermind is finding our true north individually. You find your true north. I find my true north. All our members find their true north. We say, this is the vague destination I'm headed to. And then that's very specific.
Yeah,
and
good.
You even have an exercise around that.
Good. All right. Let's just, your point is well taken. Okay. And so this is not to counter your point. But this is something I heard in the True North thing, especially if we're going to use the words True North. True North is specifically not a vague destination. It's specifically a direction. I mean, north is a direction, not a destination. The mastermind or the CEO group, the Mindful CEO group, is to discover the destination, to where would True North lead you? Where would you following your north lead you? I see. I think we want to keep destination and direction as distinct, because I think moving in a direction is more, is the activity.
Yeah. That's good. I hear that.
And the destination, we want to keep detaching from what it needs to look like.
Yeah.
And intentionally keeping it vague, because the point is to move in that direction. When Alan was on the show, Alan Kahn, for those of you who haven't listened to the episode, can go back and listen to it. But one of his gifts to me was, we were talking about the True North workshop. He's like, well, I like to use True East because there's always east to go.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Once you get north, there's actually a north. You can't go further north than the North Pole. You can always go further east. So the True East workshop or the True West workshop, because there is no there.
Unless you detach yourself from the planet, and then north is not confined to a pole. It's just
exactly. Then
you're
the direction, but all the directions, right, on our planet as human beings run off the relationship, the orientation towards north, because there is a true north. But regardless of that little play on words, and regardless of that, way of looking that way of looking at it, the True North workshops, the calling, the things that we've been true to is we've been true to a direction, right? We've been inside, the way you said it, in a lane.
Yeah. Yeah.
Keeping it true to, okay, we're going to empower each other, you and I, because clearly you and I only talk to ourselves, only talking to each other and the 4 people that watch, or 5. Sorry, I think we may even be up to 7. That would be a direction this year. Vague destination would be to get to 1,000.
That sounds specific.
Yes, 1,000 is specific. So what,
more.
Yeah, viral.
More.
How's that? Viral.
Vague. That's good.
But as we engage in each other's, empowering each other, and that's the point of the community, the Mindful CEO community group, is to empower each other to remain intentional in their direction, to keep detaching from specificity around the destination.
It's good.
And yet to keep empower the movement in that direction.
Yeah. That's the work. That's perfect. Well said.
That's good. So Chris, I mean, and then what I had started to say earlier was pre-show, when we were talking about Coddiwompling this through, okay, so for everyone listening, Chris, we haven't launched the Mindful CEO group. Can we just align on a name? Is it a masterclass? Is it a community?
We called it a mastermind.
Okay, mastermind. All right.
Paid mastermind.
It's paid mastermind. The CEO paid mastermind. Yeah. And we've got pillars, and we've got stuff that we hashed out in episode, whatever number we hashed that out in. We're both really empowered in it, but we haven't launched. And Chris was asking me, okay, what would it take to launch it? And it's a certain number of people being interested, because I don't want to launch it if we only have like 5 people, because it's not unsustainable.
Yeah.
But what would it take us to have more people interested? And I was suggesting that what it would take would be, in football, the coaches generally have the first 10 to 15 plays scripted. I was watching the Sugar Bowl last night, the Huskies Longhorns game, and the coach of the Longhorns, it was said on the broadcast that he's got the first 40 plays scripted. Wow. Which didn't do him any good because the Huskies won. Go Huskies. But, but having the first play scripted is their call, so that they can see what the defenses do. They can see how their offenses play in that environment, and then they can dance appropriately. You can't call the whole game. Yeah. You can't pre-script every play in the whole game, because there's too many other variables coming at you. But by pre-scripting and sticking to the first series of plays, 10, 15 plays, you can get enough information about the environment, the other team, the field, the players, your players, their players. You can get enough information then to be able to play call on a dynamic basis going forward.
Yeah.
So we were talking about, okay, well, let's Coddiwomple, the first 15 plays of the paid mastermind, so that if inside of which you could then say, okay, here's the direction, here's the intentional direction we're going with this.
Yeah.
And here's what it looks like. So we could start. I could then have conversations with people and actually go, okay, this is what we're doing.
Yep.
And I'm glad we're recording this because I think we just said something about what the purpose is that I've now forgotten. But that would be, the direction of those first 15 plays.
Yeah.
Which was what? Which was what did we just say? It was keeping people detached from the specific outcomes while moving powerfully in an intentional direction. Keep empowering them to move in the direction of their true north.
Yeah.
And detached from any specific way that needs to look, but empowered to continue to move forward. So if that starts with
it's really good.
determining your true north, que bueno, we could start there. If you already are pretty clear what your life is for, good, then let's empower you in moving in that direction.
Yeah. I like that as even as a pre-work, as someone applies for the program, they get accepted, and then we say, great, before joining your next, the next mastermind session that we're having, make sure to go through this pre-work, because then anybody coming into the Coddiwomple is coming in with already ideas on their radar about their true north, about the vague destination they're headed to, the direction in which they want to do that, right? The action of the direction. Yeah, I really like how you distinguish destination and direction, by the way, which is probably good for re-listening to. Anyway, just because then anybody can join at any time. You don't have to, you can listen to the pre-recorded modules and then jump into the live.
That's good. Good. So I'll re-record those. Good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Also, it's interesting to me, if I think about a football thing, I would imagine, I don't know this, but it would make sense that after halftime, you'd come back out with another set of scripted plays just to start the second half so that you have a baseline.
Yeah.
Does that happen?
I don't know. I actually
if I were the coach, I would do it. Partially because I want to see I want to run something scripted to see how they respond. And then again, and I say that as a metaphor because I think every 6 months, every quarter, every year, the opportunity to re-script yourself. I really like doing masterminds in a series around a topic.
Right.
It focuses the Coddiwomple. It focuses the conversation. It's like okay, let's talk about leadership. And then focuses the direction. Just like you and I have done in this podcast, like we've stayed in a lane. We're purposefully moving in a direction, right? And we've been using different topics. So my point is every series could be a re-scripting of, okay, here, let's go into another direction, another conversation that has some scripted points to it and see where it evolves to. We haven't talked about that. I'm just sort of saying it out loud, like to use a series in the mastermind, 6 weeks, 8 weeks.
To break the mastermind up into series.
Yeah, to have a topic, because the topic really acts as a script, right? Like, hey,
I was imagining that the topics would be the pillars.
Yeah, sure, great.
Start with those topics. And I think the first series, the first set of plays is taking your true north and I don't know. I have no idea. That would be the work to.
You could start anywhere, really.
Yeah.
Because it's all Coddiwomple.
Well, I would want to get the pillars up in front of me and figure out, people could distinguish what pillar's missing.
Commentary on that observation and last week's Ikigai, like, sometimes grounding, if any of you are big thinkers or you're into mindfulness, or you just get a lot of downloads, like you can swim in all the different, you're like, what the hell were our pillars? I don't even remember our pillars, or what was that thing I said a minute ago?
Especially if you're old like us.
Especially if you're old. Yeah, there you go. That short-term recall. Like there is I I think part of what has served me in traveling in a purposeful manner and remembering the lane I'm in is to start writing down these distinctions, pulling them down. I don't know if you do that. I feel like as I start to distinguish my world, I hold on to and like write down and freaking cement them in my brain. Like, this is about leadership. This is about community. I start pulling these words into my life because they are the hallmarks of what I'm up to. And so whether it's Aaron or you listening to this or anybody or me for that matter, I think sometimes we get so busy in life that we don't like write it down already. Like, Aaron, write down the pillars already and
Right.
cement them in your brain, because we are 54 episodes into a Coddiwomple about this thing, and you listening to this, like, what's the thing that keeps popping up for you? It keeps surfacing and you don't write it down because, I don't know, life is busy or what, but like, I notice it because we can spend a lot of time asking the question, what is the direction? What am I doing? And we forget all the times
Yeah.
that the universe has brought you direction, as vague as it is, agency, 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 agency. And then, yeah.
Yeah. I don't have any problem remembering agency. And
No, right. I know, but yeah.
But as it gets, so a couple of thoughts about this. One is, I don't dislike, I don't sort of dislike, I dislike the notion that if it were important, I'd remember it. Right. I don't, so this is to your point about writing
Yeah.
it down.
Yeah.
There is on one side of this equation, the keep it simple, stupid, only invent stuff that you wouldn't have to write down, right? Really create something like that. Hang on one second.
Yeah. Yeah.
Someone just walked in and I don't know what they needed. Uh, so there's that world, right? Of,
Yeah.
if it was important, there's also sort of a snarky version of that. Like, well, if it's important to you, you'd remember it.
Yeah.
And I don't know that that's necessarily true or empowering to go down that road, to have that be where you land. And I also don't think that you need to keep things. I mean, I do think in terms of what your true north is, you shouldn't have to write it down. If it were your true north, you wouldn't, it would just be, you can't like, well, who am I? Like, there's that.
Yeah.
If it's something as fundamental as who you are, right? But
Yeah.
as you begin to, well, all right, so hang on. Let me just distinguish that from something else so that there may not be anything to push back on.
No, there is.
I understand. Um, yeah, I mean, I do think when you're getting to your true north, I don't think there's a problem writing it down in the very, very beginning. Like, okay, I just came up with this. This is how I came up with it. It was journaling, writing it down and like that. But if it's so complicated that you can't remember it,
Yeah.
then without writing it down, then it's probably not useful in terms of being able to be something that you allow to call to you. And when we get to something, as you begin to build a structure around that, you build your cathedral around that, right? I do think you need written plans. I do think, you need a blueprint. You
Yeah.
need stuff that's written down. It has not just goals in it, but just really, you meat to the bone.
Yeah.
You flesh it out, however, all those very gross metaphors, but
Mm-hmm.
I think that is important. And I think I know we've had this conversation before. This is the difference between execution and ideation.
Mm.
It's right there. And that difference between execution and ideation. Execution requires written plans and measures and working stuff out and the potential for failure. So if the little back arching that I heard in what you just said, which isn't on you, which is on me, which I needed, is, dude, write that shit down, because it's not going to happen if you don't. You're not going to execute without a plan. I mean, you can do some shit, but you can't really execute on the cathedral.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't just wing a
Good.
cathedral.
That's all my commentary is, because I think the
Yeah.
world, I think when I've done a lot of coaching and I do a lot of observing, and I think a lot of people they have a sense of who they are. They have a sense of what they would want to do with their life, but then they feel ill-equipped to do anything with it. They don't realize life has taught them so many lessons that would be valuable, because they haven't actually um, reasserted the neural pathways to the thing. Like,
Yes. That's good. That's what writing down, that's what the
yeah,
planning does, is deepens those neuronal pathways. I don't think
yeah,
that's not negligible. That's not
it's efficiency.
incidental. Yeah, it's not ancillary. It's not, I like all
Yeah.
those words,
So
you know.
like for our, our pillars, like mindfulness, you know, is there's a whole world in that. And if I wrote that down, my neural pathways that go towards mindfulness, and how does mindfulness matter to True North, and how does it matter to my business and being mindful? It gives me a place to look instead of all the places to look. It sort of it's efficient because it condenses it to just four. We've got mindfulness, we've got mastery, we've got mastermind, and we've got mindfulness, manifestation. Actually, I don't know if mastery is one of them. I should write them down. I got to write them down. Damn it.
Damn it, caught you. Um, but there were four M's.
There were four.
Uh,
I got
and it
three of the
could,
four at least.
yeah, I don't think, well, at any rate, we did write them down. I know
Yeah.
we meaning you wrote them down. So that's the royal we. Uh, my
I
scribe wrote
even
them down.
I even have them in a sheet in front of me, which is so a mission was the other one, because that's
Mission.
True
There
North.
you go. Mission. Yeah, that makes more sense. Um, yeah, and I think that's where ideation and execution come, that discrepancy,
Yeah.
the
Oh, okay.
the
Yeah.
you know, come in, because we can daydream a cathedral,
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
but you,
Execute.
you can't execute it without plans.
Right. Yeah.
Dig
And
that
I think,
metaphor.
yeah, good.
Yeah, that's
And I
good.
think finding the pillar, in our case, these pillars, mindfulness, mission, mastermind, and manifesting, these pillars become some backbone to the way and the direction in which
Mhm.
you intend to do it. Like, you could have four completely different pillars and words about how you're going to find True North or create agency or whatever. You could say like hustle and prosperity, and these would be different places to build from, or different directions, purposeful directions to equip yourself in. And we're saying, based on what life has taught us, what we value, mindfulness, mission, mastermind, and manifestation, this is the purposeful direction that we want to Coddiwomple. We want to Coddiwomple there through mindfulness, mission, masterminding, and manifestation.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Those are all the vague destinations, and they look different for each person. And to really empower, so if we were going to give
yeah,
direction or structure, scaffolding to the group, the paid mastermind, it would be to have people really begin to explore what execution would look like inside that. Is what's missing more ideation, or is there more execution? It's funny. I just wrote an article that's being published on Broke Agent Media, just about ideation versus execution. So it's up for
oh,
me.
nice.
And I think that's one of the really important things here, is to, when that it's up for me, that it's up for you, is a function of having written it down, is a function of having it kept in your consciousness long enough so that you could get triggered by where it shows up in your environment.
Yeah.
And I think one of the advantages of mindfulness practices of sitting is sensitizing yourself to what's happening in the environment, being able to hear what's happening around you, free of the filter distractions that come with monkey mind, that come with just moving
Yeah.
in our world to be able to quiet that down and have neuronal pathways that are used to slowing down
Yeah.
and operating with curiosity, with openness from the tenets of mindfulness that are,
Yeah.
you've practiced that, you can see more, you can hear more, you notice more, there's more information that you can use, you know, and
Yeah.
this is
Right.
really this, I'm just going to keep riffing for a second, but this is really standing in that the universe is already delivering to you what you want. You know, the universe is finding a way, has found a way. You are already getting what you want. It's just, can you slow the train pulling you in the other direction? Can you decouple that?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the practice of mindfulness is one of the easiest, quickest, most effective resources we have as human beings to decouple that conversation, that train that's pulling us away from what we want. Um, you know, the opportunity of just quieting the mind 10 minutes a day is, we weren't on this podcast. We were somewhere and they were talking to Darren Hardy's, the compound effect.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
You know, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. Einstein is, you know, there's human beings cannot, and everyone has said this. This is not just Einstein. It's, you know, it is, the human mind can't compound exponential growth. I can't really visualize what exponential growth looks like, to go from 1 to 10 to 100 to 1,000 to 1,000,000. It not, you can't grasp it. We think linearly, not exponentially. So when it looks like not eating that donut, what difference does it make? It's just a donut. But you eat an extra donut a day for 10 years and you are now, you got a very full life. No, you got problems, health problems, right? You got diabetes. You make one extra phone call, Jeb Blunt in you know, what's his book, Prospecting, Outrageous Prospecting. I don't forget the exact name of it. It's a great book, great salesperson. But you know, the best sales people in the world, their differentiator, the thing they do that's distinct, the thing that makes them the highest producers, is they literally do one extra call a day.
Wow.
When it's time to get done, they just make one more call.
Wow.
And you know, it's one more call, but it's not one more call. It's one more call every day. You know, 365 extra calls a year or whatever it is, 300 extra, whatever, right?
Yeah.
It compounds. And that's, I mean, you know, for us to practice mindfulness, just to go back to the opportunity of practicing mindfulness, there's the ability to free ourselves up to move intentionally in a direction. Despite having only a vague idea of the destination. And there's nothing in our culture, certainly nothing in our hustle culture. This goes back to the beginning of the show, maybe where we want to wrap it, because this is exactly what you were talking to, Chris, is there's nothing in hustle culture that shows that that's a productive activity. Everything in hustle culture, everything in the grind is, you know, about achieving a very specific result by a specific date. If I'm not a millionaire by 30, if I don't drop those 10 pounds. And that's not to say goal setting is not important, doesn't work, or blah, blah, blah. Not, right. It's just, if that's the end all be all of the conversation. Right. There's very little pull. There's very little support.
Right.
There's very little opportunity to hear someone else talking about, well, slow down. Let's listen. What's opening? And then what would happen if you stepped in that direction? And then the same process repeats. Okay, slow down, listen, what's opening, step in that direction, and just see where you, you know, inside of the container, inside of, I'm building a cathedral, right? And I have these plans, but I'm going to dance with the plans because maybe the soil isn't what I thought it was, or maybe this material is no longer available, or maybe my, masonry people quit. So I need to pivot, all that stuff, but be able to stay true to all that and keep all that in a line is really the opportunity of what what this podcast, what the Facebook group, and what the paid community is really out to empower.
Yeah. Love that. That's a perfect place to end.
Great.
Those of you listening, if you would like to Coddiwomple in the presence of others, Coddiwompling in a purposeful manner towards a vague destination, that's a really rare space. It's hard to find that space where we aren't telling you to hustle. We're actually holding space for you to be purposeful in your direction towards a vague destination. Like, that's a really unique space to be in. And I'm super pumped that Aaron and I are creating that. So if you'd like to learn more about that, go to themindfulceo.com, click on the appropriate links, and we'll follow up the next steps. Thanks, Aaron. Good stuff.
Peace.
See you.